Good afternoon, everybody. Good afternoon. My name is Lawrence Snyder. Some people call me Dad. Woo! It's great to be back with my Rotary family. Spent a lot of time with Morgan and Coleman, and it's been such a blessing to have that time. So thank you to Aaron. Thank you to Rotary and my fellow Rotarian families in getting us through with all the warm well and wishes. So thank you guys. I really appreciate it, and I know Morgan does too. Okay, transition. Anyways, thanks to the greeter, Bryce Bowe, and the roundabout reporter, John Diltz. Appreciate you guys doing that. And I want to invite Katie Beck up for introduction of our guest, which I believe we have several. Thank you, Katie. Oh. Been gone for 3 weeks, guys. Ashley Sullivan. Pledge, reflection. And then we'll talk about our guests.
Okay. Please join me in the pledge. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. You may be seated. Hello, everyone. It's so nice to see such a full room and everybody's bright, shiny faces. I want to talk a little bit about the International Day of Peace and how that connects to Rotary. The International Day of Peace was last Friday, as some of you might have known, September 21st. And this day set me on a search for ways that Rotary is attending to one of our 6 areas of focus, which is promoting peace. Rotary encourages conversations to foster understanding within and across cultures. We train adults and young leaders to prevent and mediate conflict. That's our statement that we have on our website and across our materials. But it's just a broad statement of the organization. I was trying to figure out practical applications of that focus. How can we promote peace in our service projects in a tangible way? So I did some investigating, and it led me to discover our recent partnership with IEP. I don't know if anyone's familiar with this, but it's really fascinating. The Institute for Economics and Peace. IEP is a think tank dedicated to using empirical research to better understand the drivers of peace. A Rotary Peace Fellow in 2016, her name is Lori Smolensky, reflected that the idea that peace, which often lives in a lofty realm of aspiration and emotions, could be articulated in concrete metrics, underpinned by data and visualized through heat maps and charts, and it was really profoundly impactful to her while she was a Rotary Peace Scholar. She's now the Outreach and Development Officer at the IEP, and she wrote an article for our blog in 2017. Rotary and IEP embarked on a strategic partnership. This partnership represents a bridge between research and action, as it will equip Rotarians working on the ground with concrete tools and frameworks to promote positive peace. Positive peace is defined as the attitudes, institutions, and structures that correlate to the world's most peaceful societies. There are several ways that we can get involved with this. You can check out the Rotary Peace Academy, which is an online learning platform for Rotarians. Within a couple hours, you can familiarize yourself with IEP's research frameworks and methodology through the lens of our mission and areas of focus. The Academy provides examples of practical and creative applications of positive peace to help us incorporate this framework into our own service projects. I will be taking this course through the Rotary Peace Academy, and I'll be happy to share what I've learned with you, and I hope that you'll join me. There are even more ways that we can put this partnership into action, and we can host a positive peace workshop in our community, just like IEP and Rotary have held workshops for hundreds of Rotaractors and youth in Uganda and Mexico, and additional workshops are coming up in Mexico and Colombia next year. They provide a neutral framework that can be adapted to unique cultural and regional contexts, and a guide for this will come out soon that I'll keep you guys posted on. With all that being said, I encourage you to read up on the great work we're doing across all of our areas of focus through our blog and the Rotarian magazine. This latest article, the latest issue of the Rotarian magazine was fabulous. I don't know if anybody checked it out, but please take some time to read it. It had a lot of great insight. And if you do explore the Peace Academy, Rotary International would love your feedback. So I have some contact information if you'd like to check it out online. I can give you the link to find out the Academy online and who to email to tell you what you think. And thanks.
Thank you. Let me check my agenda. Introduction of guests, Katie Beck. All right. We're back on schedule. Katie.
Good afternoon, everyone. We have quite a few guests today, so I'll do my best. I hope I don't mispronounce anyone's names. Our speaker today has a number of guests, so I'll list them first. And since we have so many, if we could hold our applause to the end, I think that would be best. Melanie Patterson, guest of JT. Thank you. Darren Patterson.
Visiting Rotarian from Casper.
Welcome. Naylin Hatut. Hello. Anne and Beth Wren. Bob. Anne and Bob Wren. Sorry. Janet, Nancy Cutshall. Don and Linda Mitchell. Dick and Diane Holdeman. And Rich Holdman. Thank you. And then we have a few other guests. Janet Schell, a guest of Jim Bright. Eileen Schaefer, a guest of Jean Emery. Evan Fruits, a guest of Walt Kuhn. And Trent Deckard, a guest of Kyla Cox Deckard. And Joe Darling, a guest of Jean Emery and a prospective member. So I hope I didn't miss everyone. We can applaud now. Thank you all for joining us, and if you're interested in joining Rotary, I'm sure anyone at your table would be happy to share information with you.
Thank you, Katie. You were giving a preview of the slideshow throughout the whole time. Well, we'll figure that out. All right. Dr. Judy DeMuth will be receiving the IU School of Education Distinguished Alumni Award. So that's exciting, and that's going to be happening on Thursday. Also, some sad news, Bob Compton passed away on Wednesday, September 19th, and we'll be hearing some feedback about Bob and his time with Rotary at another time to come. Also, Keith Brown passed away back in May, but however, there is a celebration of his life on October 26th at the First United Methodist Church, and why that was brought to light was because his daughter reached out and talked about the importance not only of Rotary to Keith, but also to their entire family. It's pretty amazing all the connections that they've had. Birthdays this week, Jerry McCrory on the 26th. Membership anniversaries, John Berta is 5 years, Bill Perkins 14 years, and Yolanda 16 years. So give them a round of applause for that. Wow. All right, my understanding is that the Comedy Addicts 10th anniversary benefiting Teachers Warehouse was a huge success with proceeds of $4,025, and they had a lot of laughs doing it, so give a round of applause there. Jim Bright tried to go to the mic, but they pulled him off the stage. The Bloomington Rotary Club, we had our board meeting serving you guys. Just a couple highlights. We did approve, and we'll hear more from Sarah on this, a $2,500 match for next week, ultimately benefiting, and Sarah will fill us more in on the Boys and Girls Club, getting us to our centennial goal. More details there. Next Rotary social event is going to be at the TAP Friday the 28th. And from 11 to 1:30. You don't have to be there the whole time. Come have lunch whenever's convenient for you. District Governor Sue Wright will be speaking to our club next Tuesday, October 2nd. And there is a business meeting before the meeting at 11 a.m., which I would ask committee members and board members to attend. I'll send out a reminder on that. The business outlook is on 11/1 at the Woolery Mill, a new location. And Mike Baker is handling those details if you have any questions. Rotary Toast is November 2nd, honoring Steve and Connie Ferguson. Jim, do you want to give a quick update on any toast details?
Thank you, Lauren. You don't want to miss this one. The first one, we recognized Dr. Larry Rink. The second one, Ron Remack, and the third one, Becky Rizmalos. And as Lauren said, this year it's Steve and Connie Ferguson. We have a terrific lineup of toasters, including Michael McRobbie, president of Indiana University, former Ivy Tech Chancellor Emeritus John Weichert, the president of the Cook Group, Pete Yonkman, and French Lick Resort Marketing Manager Steve Rodinero. So again, Friday, November 2nd, see Natalie for tickets. They're going fast. It will definitely sell out for the fourth straight year, all 330 seats. So see Natalie after today's luncheon and reserve your spots. Thank you, Lauren.
Thank you, Jim. All right, moving on down the agenda here, the Rotary District is now, or District 6580, is now accepting applications for the Rotary Youth Exchange for 2019-20. We have to think ahead at Rotary. It's 16 to 18-year-olds, and the deadline is October 28th. Joy Harder has details on that. Contact her if you have any questions. All right, Happy Dollars for next week. And they're going to be a special version. Sarah's got some details on that.
All right, so we're used to saying, this close, right? Well, that's how close we are to meeting our $100,000 pledge to the Boys and Girls Club. We are $5,000 away. We were $5,000 away from our $100,000 goal last week. And then the Bloomington Rotary Club board agreed to contribute $2,500 to match whatever, up to $2,500, to match whatever we could contribute. So next week, we are going to have hyper dollars, hyper happy dollars. And so I want to tell you now, because I hope that you'll bring, instead of a $1 bill, a $20 bill, or a $50 bill, or a checkbook. We're going to try to get, in a very few minutes, so it's going to be lickety-split, lickety-split, to that $2,500 goal by the end of the meeting. And then what we're going to do on November 25th, I think it is, which is the Tuesday after Thanksgiving, we're going to have a big presentation of the check to the Boys and Girls Club, a check to the Teachers Warehouse Endowment, and a check to our own Bloomington Rotary Foundation Endowment for Scholarships. It's going to be the culmination of our centennial year. So don't forget your checkbook or your cash next week and help us get over the hump. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Sarah. Now I want to invite Liz Irwin up for some very exciting new member inductions. This is what drives our club for 100 years, is the membership. So it's Liz.
Well, the membership committee has been very busy, so I'm quite excited today that we are actually going to be inducting 2 new members. And while Efrat Pfefferman and Liz Feidel, who is her sponsor, are coming up, and also Joe King and Jim Bright, his sponsor, come up, I'm going to read a little bit about our new members so you can get to know them. Efrat Pfefferman is a 17-year resident of Monroe County and the mother of 2 delightful boys. She is an IU grad who majored in sociology and religious studies, and then went on to pursue a Master's of Public Administration at the University of Arizona. She serves as the executive director of United Way of Monroe County, where she leads a team of 8. As she says, in mobilizing the caring power of our community in order to address our most critical needs and reduce those needs in the future. Past professional experience includes local government and nonprofit experience both here and in Tucson, Arizona. Efrat has served on local boards and commissions, including the Monroe County Women's Commission and the Buskirk-Chumley Theater Board of Directors. She currently serves on the Monroe County Redevelopment Commission. Efrat says she is delighted to join so many engaged and caring Rotarians. And now a little bit about Joe King. Joe was born and raised in the bourbon capital of the world, Bardstown, Kentucky. Joe came to Bloomington in 1976 when he joined a local electronics firm, PTS Electronics, before joining ModusLink Global Solutions as the Senior Vice President of Business Development. Joe has also served as the Chairman of the Board for the Members' Choice Credit Union for 4 years. Today, Joe is a financial advisor with Edward Jones. Joe and his wife have been married for 41 years and have 2 children, both of which are married and live locally. Joe and his wife are blessed to have 5 grandchildren, 3 boys and 2 girls, and he and his family attend Sherwood Oaks Christian Church. With his extensive work travel, Joe was never afforded the luxury of being part of a local professional group and is pleased to have been accepted into Rotary. He looks forward to participating in the local charitable events sponsored and supported by Rotary. So, now we'll go through a short induction ceremony. Efrat Pfefferman and Joe King, on behalf of the board and membership of the Bloomington Rotary Club, it is a great pleasure to welcome you as the newest members of our club. We look forward to the fellowship that we will share, as well as your participation in many club projects that make our community, country, and world a better place. Though Rotary is not a political organization, Rotarians are vitally concerned with good citizenship and the election of strong leaders to public office. While Rotary is not a religious organization, it is built on those eternal principles that have served as a moral compass for people throughout the ages. Rotary is an organization of business and professional people pledged to uphold the highest ethical and moral standards. Rotarians believe that worldwide fellowship and peace can be achieved when people unite with the Rotary motto of service above self. Rotary activities exemplify the charity and sacrifice that one would expect from people who believe they have a responsibility to help others. Efrat and Joe, you have been chosen for membership in the Bloomington Rotary Club because your fellow members believe you to be leaders in our community and because you possess the qualities to champion the message and principles of Rotary. You are representatives of your vocation within our club and community. You now become ambassadors of Bloomington Rotary, carrying the ideals of service to all within your sphere of influence. Our community will know and judge Rotary by your character and service. We will also look to you for inspiration as we strive to become better Rotarians. I now ask your sponsors and you to come here, and we will have your sponsors vest you with the pin, which is our distinguished badge of a Rotarian. We ask that you wear your Rotary pin with pride, not only to all Rotary functions, but in your many endeavors, as a symbol of your commitment to Rotary ideals and our recognition of your contribution towards a better world. Fellow Rotarians, please rise and welcome our newest Rotarians.
Thank you, Liz. Thank you, everyone. Honor to have another 2 members. Now I want to dive into one of my favorite parts of our meeting, happy dollars. We've got to do them kind of quick because we want to get JT up here. Gene, Emery, happy dollar. Mike Baker.
I've got $5 because I think I forgot the schedule for Rotary when I was president, so I figured I'd find myself an
All right. Aaron.
We have a happy gift
Okay.
for Papa, because this is all about relationships, right?
That is.
This is Rotary, this is from our club. Please open.
All right. Try and open quickly. Wrapped so well. Future Rotarian bib. I love that. And a future Rotarian onesie.
We got another one in there.
We got more in there too. Thank you so much, Aaron. I really appreciate everybody.
Take care.
And while we're talking, I've got $25 because Coleman's been alive for 25 days. So Sarah, did you have one, or did somebody else have one? Yeah. David, back there, yep. All right, back there, Darren.
I'm happy to visit Bloomington, my alma mater, and visit my daughter today. Got a half and five for that. She had to leave because she had to go back to class. But if you need a program sometime, she is a four-way speech contest winner, and won at our club level and second at the district. So I'm hoping that maybe there's somebody else that could help her. She's looking for a part-time job too. So I have to.
All right, Liz, yeah. Liz, yep. Awesome. And Judy, did you have one? Judy. Anybody else? All right, without further ado, let's have Jim Bright introduce our speaker. Thank you.
Thank you, Lauren. And it is indeed my pleasure today to welcome back to Bloomington a native son, J.T. Waring of the Rotary Club of Los Angeles, California. Founded 110 years ago, the LA Club is the fifth club established in the world, 35,500 clubs, fifth in the world. Today, JT is the founder and CEO of the Rotary Myanmar Water Management Systems Project, reporting to his Rotary Club's board of directors. JT has an amazing professional background and Rotary background, and when he gets ready to sell the rights to his book, I want to be in line to sign up for that. But he grew up on South Jordan Avenue in Bloomington, and he is an alum with a bachelor's and a master's degree, an MBA here from IU. And after receiving his MBA in 1972, JT began his advanced career in the management consulting division of what is now KPMG, a global public accounting firm. Then he became one of the 12 original equity partners of Korn Ferry International, $1.8 billion annual global executive search and organizational firm and the largest in the industry. And it goes on. At age 33, he became a company vice president. What were you doing when you were 33? A 44-year Rotarian, JT received Rotary's very prestigious Service Above Self Award for his Myanmar service in 2010. He's a Paul Harris Fellow, a 6-diamond member of the Rotary Foundation's Bequest Society. From 2011 to 14, he served Rotary International presidents, 4 of them, and boards, as Rotary's special representative to the Republic of the Union of Myanmar. In this capacity, he was responsible to secure government permission to organize Rotary anew in Myanmar, and he did it successfully by founding the Rotary Club in Yangon. On behalf of the Rotary International president in 2005, JT led a team to Myanmar and throughout Southeast Asia with a video crew. Ron, help me out, JT, Ron Osgood, a faculty member in the School of Telecommunications. They produced an award-winning documentary, Aftermath of a Tsunami. So later, JT led a Rotary effort to construct and fund safe water management complete systems for a number of orphanages, commissioning a respected civil engineer to execute a special Rotary design for these water systems. Today, 60 systems, and 14 years later, with gradual design improvements, Rotary is still building these wonderful, life-enriching systems. They're now broadened, they're expanded to include large Buddhist monasteries and Christian orphanages and so forth. And now today there are 2 clubs, thanks to JT, that now thrive in Yangon, resulting from JT's original commission, and others are on the drawing board. Again, please join me in welcoming back to welcome home to JT Waring. JT.
Thank you, Jim, very much, Mr. President. It's been my experience that when you have an introduction that is that effusive, you're best if you simply stay seated. Because it's all downhill from there. But I'm really happy to be back in Bloomington and with the club of which I was never eligible to be a member, but was a model of citizenship and leadership. I was just handed that book from your commemorative event, and I was shocked both at how old I am and at how many of those past presidents I knew quite personally, going back a lot of years. And this is a club with a history that's just awesome. I can tell you that as celebrated and supposedly preeminent as LA5 is, we've got nothing on Bloomington Rotary. One of the 3-digit clubs yourselves, founded, I believe, in 1918, with a history that's just awesome. So thank you very much for welcoming me back, and it is a return because this is a homecoming to where we've been once before. And I have to begin a little bit at the beginning with a bit of a preamble that most of you probably already know, and that is that the most horrendous cause of deaths of children under the age of 5 throughout the world today by multiple percentages is bad water. It is a huge problem, it is a growing problem, and one of the statistics that Jim Bright and I were discussing just the other day that came to my attention recently, that many of you may already know, is that physically there has been no new water created in the world since God rested. It's all the same, it's been recycled endlessly, and of course we don't want to think too much about where some of that water's been between there and here, but the fact is that the matter can neither be created nor destroyed. The same applies to water. This means it is a precious resource that we must guard much more carefully than we have, and in parts of the world that dominate in terms of population percentage, the water is simply awful. Even in urban areas and in some of the rural areas, it's devastating. Now, into this context, as many of you probably have lived long enough to know yourselves, sometimes the most momentous, life-changing events in our lives tiptoe in on little mouse feet, and all of a sudden you're someplace you had never imagined you would be. And that certainly applies to me. I was tapped in 2005. How many of you remember the devastating Boxing Day tsunami of 2004, December 26, 2004? Any of you old enough to remember that besides me? A few. Claimed 272,000 documented lives in 8 countries in South and Southeast Asia. I was asked by a past president and a distinguished trustee of the foundation to lead a team to do a video documentary themed around that, which resulted in, sorry about that, which resulted in this product, Aftermath of the Tsunami. Now, the reason I mention that, aside from the fact that we're somewhat proud of that product, and that was in itself a 3-week experience, traveling through Thailand and Sri Lanka and, oh Lord, Banda Aceh, northern Sumatra, Indonesia, which was like the moon at that time. It also led to where I stand today, because after the team and I had finished and reported to the past president, Vichai Radakun, in Thailand on our work, just before we broke up, we decided to make a side trip. It's an hour and 10-minute flight to Yangon, Myanmar, Burma, as most of us and the U.S. government officially still knows it. There we were introduced by coincidence, if you want to call it that, to an amazing medical doctor, a senior faculty member of the Medical University of Yangon, who had started, after he retired from that faculty appointment, a little entity called Myanmar Compassion Project, which provided all of the health care, including dental, for a network of orphanages in the country. Christian, no social services network, no children's services, nothing of that sort. And when I saw what they were doing, I fell in love. I went back to my then Newport Irvine Rotary Club. They sent a check for $10,000, no questions asked, to the doctors to do whatever they wanted to with it. A year later, our then district governor-elect, and somebody Judy Witt knows, John Brainerd, and his wife and I flew over there, and we met with the doctors and asked what we as Rotary could do. And we pointed out what you all know, which is that Rotary are long-term sustained players, not short-term, temporary, quick-hit interveners and go away. The doctors took time and came back saying water management systems for our orphanages. Our kids are carrying dirty water frequently from ponds and streams every day after school just to keep the place lubricated. So we said yes, and we signed on to do that. But that one thing led to another. We've done a number of the orphanages, but because this is a largely Buddhist country, we also then moved forward into doing monasteries, with the requirement that those monasteries be providing care for orphan children and free public education for children in their neighborhoods. And there's a lot of those, and they're doing very good work. Enter one of the very senior monks, and 3 weeks later, my initial of 4 meetings with Aung San Suu Kyi, who is now the chief of state of Myanmar in 2012, and the request came, you are Rotary, you have an immense capacity, our greatest need is water management systems for villages. And Suu Kyi herself told me that she knew of at least 20,000 villages that had inadequate water, and that people were suffering, getting sick, and sometimes dying as a result of bad water. And I'm going to have my young student who's visiting with me here speak to you for a minute about what that means. He comes from one of those villages. And we said, okay. The task was enormous, but we said, you know, as my late former pastor Robert Schuller used to say, beginning is half done. And so we decided to just start and prime the pump. Well, along the way, as Jim Bright commented, what we were doing got the attention of one Rotary Center in Evanston, because this was a country when we started going that the typical reaction from people in Bloomington or California would be, you go there? Because this, of course, was a harsh, vicious military dictatorship, almost on a level of North Korea. Not quite, but almost. And the difference was that, unlike the North Koreans, they were very eclectic, the Myanmar military government, about letting foreign do-gooders tiptoe into their country to do good and help the people in some way, just as long as they didn't even think that we were trying to get close to the political process. If they suspected that, with or without evidence, you were summarily escorted to the airport and put on a plane never to return. And that happened to a lot of people who were a little bit indiscreet. Fortunately, Vichai Radakun, past Rotary International president, was once foreign minister of Thailand. And so he knew the characters on that stage. He was one of my very valuable mentors in making sure we stayed out of trouble. And as a result, when we went into the country, we did the right things and avoided the wrong things, and this paid off in an interesting way. In 2011, President-elect Kalyan Banerjee from India came to see us. The first salvo that got Rotary International's attention was that when the centennial president of Rotary, Carl Wilhelm Stenhammar of Sweden, was the foundation chair, he allocated his entire $100,000 discretionary special initiatives grant budget to us. That's never been done before. That caused people to bounce off the walls in Evanston. What? But it also got recognition and attention for what we were doing. So Kalyan came to have a look. He was just from India, and he was bedazzled, amazingly. Even though India is just across the Bay of Bengal from Myanmar, he'd never been there. It's amazing how many people, even from the region, had never been there. So by the time he left after 3 days, I had a finger in my chest, literally, physically, saying, we must get Rotary back into this country. We must get Rotary into this country on my watch. And I want you to do it for me. Okay. So we had to start building those relationships. And fortunately, armed with an official appointment letter, which it took from the board of directors of RI, we were able to meet some of the right people. Interestingly enough, we were, and until this year, were the only service organization allowed to function in Myanmar since 1977. We were there. Founded in 1928, thrown out in 1977 by the military government because we were told that they had, that their military intelligence was pretty good. They had spotted our project, seen what we were doing, knew what we were doing, knew everything we were doing, and said, we've watched you, you've done what you said you would, you've kept your promises. We are inclined to place our trust in Rotary. This was a high-level civil servant said this to me in the year that we were first applying, which was 2013. Long story short, Memorial Day weekend 2014, well, they don't celebrate that there, they gave Rotary a license to charter a club in Yangon. And the third president who appointed me, my good friend Ron Burton, signed the charter on May 17th, 2014, and Rotary came back into existence in Myanmar for the first time in more than 40 years, almost 50 years. So there are now two clubs there, the one in Yangon, Rotary Club of Yangon, and a second one, Rotary Club of Central Yangon. Well, meanwhile, whither us? Where do we go from here? I'm not running this thing. Is somebody pushing the buttons to... Oh, thank you, Gemma. You should have been throwing popcorn at me or something. Sorry about that. I thought it was being run as a tape behind me. Everything has to be approached. You can't stand still. You have to approach something systemically or stand still or go out of existence. And we recognize the needs were far beyond anything that we had been addressing so far. And so through a series of introductions, we had a very important meeting a year and a quarter ago with the Minister of Agriculture, who is a PhD and a professional, not a politician. And that individual queried us very closely. He had his permanent secretary with him and came out of a long meeting with us, giving us full carte blanche, full blessing to operate within that country. As a result of that, we began just this year, and here comes the important part, the enacting clause here. We began just this year. I can't get too far from that mic because of what they're doing back there. We began just this year to work a systemic plan in the area of greatest need of their country. And that is the Irrawaddy Delta down in the south region of the country, very poor, devastated by a cyclone 10 years ago called Nargis that claimed 138,000 lives in that country alone. We looked deeply at the statistics the government provided us and found that even though the greatest quantity needs are up in Shan State, the deepest poverty and the most intense needs are down in the Irrawaddy Delta, which is to the south of Yangon. So we have focused our strategy on what we hope can become a massive Rotary-driven build structure to put up water management systems, working closely with the Agriculture Ministry's village development arm to identify the specific needs and depth of wells and purification needs and all of that for each of what we hope will be a large number of villages. The first 9 have been identified for build in 2019. We have the ability to do a full systemic analysis once we get the thing up and running. Now, how do we fund that? Initially, we hope to do it within Rotary. We started on a global grant last year, a big one that would have been about $210,000. Unfortunately, the local club in Yangon simply wasn't ready to carry that out. But I had conversations as recently as a week ago with the top grants officer of the Rotary Foundation. They stand ready to support us as soon as we get that put together, and we will, probably within the next few months. What we're looking to do is do a global grant, a multi-linked global grant. The Rotary District 6740 in Kentucky, which was along with 6580 here, supported us under Judy Witt from the beginning, wants to look at working on a linked global grant, to a big one. And we started a little bit of a conversation with Jim to see if this might be something that would be developed here in 6580, which I would deeply love because this is my home area. We have the potential to springboard from that to big corporate grants. We have a top academic, Dr. John Dracup from Berkeley, on our team, he's a Rotarian, to develop a more sophisticated system and to access some of the name brand grantors. This is in the future, but not too far in the future. The bottom line is, we of Rotary have the capability, through water, through that greatest of needs, to transform a country in a way that is deeply valid, saves lives, and implants us deeply in the country where we can be a major source of influence and social improvement, badly needed in that country for decades to come beyond us. I would like to introduce to you now the young student who came with us. Come on up, Nayland Tut. Nayland Tut is 23. He is from a village where we built a system 3 years ago. His father is an elected official, the village council chair of that village, and Dad's well connected throughout the area. The family have been very helpful to us in our liaison and communication in the area. And Nayland Tut came onto our rotating staff team 3 years ago. Very bright. He is in advanced placement ESL classes in our Corona Norco adult school and computer science. He's way ahead of me already, in fact, in that realm. And I'd like for him just briefly to share what the needs are in the very area where he grew up and has lived all of his life. Nayland Tut, take a minute.
Yeah. Hello, everybody. Yeah. Firstly, I am the Jew. My name is Nayland Tut. Yeah, I come from Myanmar. So I live in the data areas, so far on the city. My village is another village near the river. Now in my country, rainy season. This summer, when they ride the summer, the water is salty. JD and Rotary visited 2015 in my village. He take the information and building the pure water system in my village. And then we need pure water in the other villages because some villages have the pure so far the places so far sorry. Some people they don't need the pure water, so they are coming. They have the pure water system villages. They are coming, take the bowl, something like that. They are carry the drink the water, boiling the water. They are drinking. No rainy season using the rain, so they don't need. They don't use the river water or pure water. At the right summer they use it. So pure water, pure water. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Nayland. I will share with you, as I get ready to wind down to everyone's immense relief, I will share with you a story that I actually learned from Nayland Tut and his family, illustrating the importance of what we do and how much we take our good water for granted when much of the rest of the world cannot. There was a young lady, about I think 14 years old, in a neighboring village. I have to back up a little bit. As you know, the Delta is getting downstream water, which means it's coming polluted out of the cities and all of the upstream areas. It doesn't even look very good, and it's deeply toxic. Well, people have had to make do, and so they have done what they could with it. On one day when maybe it was after a storm and there had been some particularly roiling water conduit down the river, a young lady went to wash some fruit in the water for the family and took it back and ate it and died the next day. And while these stories this dire are not that common, it does happen. Another case in a village where we are going to do a system next year. I wish that we hadn't discovered them right near the end of our build season when both our funds and our time had already been expended for the year. We came to a village in what they call a village track. This is where you have a village that may have the school or the small monastery, and it will have a chain of sort of dependent villages nearby that don't have those facilities, but which, among other things, draw water from a central well. And there was such a village that was the head village of 6 downstream from where Nayland Tote comes from. He was with us, in fact, when we met with them that day. And we found out that their water system from an old well had broken down and wasn't working. And so people were coming downstream in boats. They move water in drums typically because there are not roads in those areas, and had loaded up water from near that village and taken it back. And it's not good water, and people are getting sick all the time because simply for want of a decent well, there is not good water. And a little bit of technical explanation here, and I'm not an engineer, as you know, is that the best water in these realms comes from what is called tube wells, where the drilling goes down to get to bedrock level. And in a delta where you have salt water, you have to go very deep, like 600 feet, in order to get to good water. We ran into many villages where they didn't know that, and I was surprised that even Save the Children did a couple of these. That water, they dug about 320 feet down, and they were getting brackish water that the well was there, but they weren't using it because it was bad water. And of course, we have technical experts like Dr. Dracup and the engineers that we work with who advise us as to what to do and not do so that we don't make those kinds of mistakes, but it's very common to run into them. So this is the environment we're going into. Water need is universal. We are like one small finger in a very large dike with many more holes in it than Myanmar, true. But we have found this need, we've identified it, we have begun serving it. We have the potential, the credibility, the experience, and the team to be able to multiply service to that country and do real quantum good if we simply organize it properly, fund it well, and move forward in the way that we have. Now, I have talked long enough. If any of you have any questions, I've purposely avoided the technicals because I could do that, but it would take time. I'll be glad to answer any questions that don't require long answers now, and I'll stay afterwards if there are some others that you want to get into more detail with.
If we have one. Yep, go ahead.
What did you drink? What did you drink?
What did I drink? Bottled water. Like in all of these countries, you've got ample bottled water, and we base in a decent hotel in Yangon. We drink only bottled water. You bet. Yes, sir.
Yes, what, can you give us just an estimate on like a cost for a system per 5,000 people or 10,000? I mean, the kind of system that you're building, what's the relative cost?
Okay, we have a basic design that we commissioned a Myanmar civil engineer in '06 to execute for us that had to have the constraints of least cost, maximum durability, simplicity to maintain, durability under adverse conditions, and operable by the local villagers. That system, of course, the cost has gone up more because of rate of exchange than materials cost, although some of that. It costs right now about $9,000 US to do a complete system, which means the U-tube down through the tube well, conduit to our ground tank, lifting it to a 22-foot derrick where there are storage tanks at the top, and then gravity feeding down to the areas of cooking and drinking, washing and laundering, and where needed for growing of sustenance crops. These are adjustable in terms of scale so that they could serve as few as, in some cases, 70 or 80 people, or as many as 2,000. And it could be expanded even above that for a larger area. It's a very adjustable concept. The actual cost figures for a larger system I could not give you now, but we've got people who can do that.
All right. Thank you so much, JT. And as JT said, he'll stick around and answer any additional questions that anybody has. In my opinion, I certainly don't have any say in this, but when we get done with polio, I think water's next.
You're right, Lauren.
I think it's next.
Telling me that's exactly correct.
So I look forward to that day and taking on that challenge, as I'm sure you all do too, because that means polio's done, we check that off, and then we can transition to a very significant issue, as JT has highlighted. Thank you for being here again. All right, really quickly, Ashley, do you have our hat real quick? We're through quarter number 1 of Rotary, so we got to draw out of the hat to see who we're honoring JT being here today with from our charitable organization. And by the way, we did just draft a letter that we are going to be sending to the Area 10 Agency on Aging, recognizing all of our speakers. So, drum roll please, real quickly. All right, you say it.
This quarter, our proceeds will go to the Interfaith Winter Shelter.
So JT, the Interfaith Winter Shelter, we will be giving a contribution in your name and being here today and speaking in recognition of you being here. So thank you again. All right, and let's see here. Next week we have District Governor Sue Wright, so please be here. We're excited to have her and hear about all the activities going on. And once again, we have that board meeting at 11, board and committee chairs. Thought for the week. In our lives, remember, our mind is like a computer. It operates more efficiently with fewer tabs open. All right, now please rise and recite the 4-way test with me. Of the things we think, say, or do, first, is it the truth? Second, is it fair to all concerned? Third, will it build goodwill and better friendships? Fourth, beneficial to all concerned? And fifth, is it fun? Have a great afternoon. Stay dry.